My name is Agojoni and this is John Obell channel. Today we have somebody who have traveled from all over, I don't know where. She's going to tell us. And first she's going to introduce herself.
Yes, oh, okay. Hi, I'm Alex Morris. I am a freelance writer and media maker, and I work in tourism as well.
Where did you come from originally?
I am originally from South Carolina in the United States.
How did you find yourself in Australia?
I came to Australia in 2010, almost a little over 10 years ago now. It was in September 2010 for a working holiday visa in Melbourne.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're still here 10 years
yes,
later?
Yes, I am. There was some back and forth. There was some back and forth. A lot of things happened in between.
Yeah.
So I started out in Melbourne, kind of didn't know what I had gotten myself into. I was actually, before that, working in DC. I was working in communications for the Wilderness Society, a very professional big girl job, and I was like 22 or 23, and I was like, I haven't had an adventure. I want to have an adventure, and I found out that you could go to Australia and just work in hospitality.
Yeah, okay.
And that was, you know, I think I had studied abroad when I was at uni, and I just wanted to do something different. And so I left the Wilderness Society. I worked for a summer in tourism. I sold my car. I had like $2,000 in my bank account, not much. Yeah. And I found a round trip ticket for 8 months to Melbourne for like $800 US.
Yeah.
So I was just like, let's go, let's see what happens.
Oh, okay, so you left this big job of yours to come and work in restaurants.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I was in, you like polishing cutlery in Australia, thinking about your nice desk job in DC, kind of like. But ironically, I got paid more. I don't know if it's ironic, but I got paid more as a waitress in Australia than I did for my communication. It was an internship that turned into a longer role, but I got paid more at that time in Australia for working in hospitality than I did for working in communications.
Comparing the US and Australia, do you see any differences?
For sure. Yes, I do. A lot of differences.
Just let us know the differences.
There's a lot less gun violence in Australia compared to the United States. There's a lot less people passionate about guns. That's a very political answer, but it is something that I quite appreciate about living here, is that if I ever decide to have kids, I would feel less worried about sending them to school here than in the United States. In Australia, all citizens have access to health care. In general, if you work a full-time job in Australia, you get 4 weeks holiday, which in the US it's only 2 weeks holiday. In Australia, you get paid time and a half on Saturdays and double time on Sundays. Minimum wage in Australia is at least $15 an hour. There's all sorts of incredible lifestyle benefits for here, but that being said, there's other like more kind of nuanced things. There is, I think, a little bit more of a British influence here in Australia than in the United States.
Because the Queen is...
the Queen, and there's a lot of, I definitely feel, I was talking to my mom on the phone just 2 nights ago, and I said, oh, that's really schmick. And she didn't know what I was talking about. I found out that's an Australian phrase. I've never heard.
It's a lingo.
There's lots of little things, but I think, I don't know, like I said, my brother lives in Colombia, and I would imagine that compared to Colombia, Australia and the US are much more similar. Like they're both kind of Western countries, but I could list a whole lot of other, and I'm sure,
Did you find any challenges when you came to Australia?
Did I find any challenges?
Although you speak English in the US, and here the same. But did you find any language barriers? Something like that?
Occasionally, this is something that I still experience, and I notice more and more is. I've now been in Australia for 10 years, and I feel as though, and I have a citizenship, Australian citizenship now too, so I'm an Australian citizen, but I will come up to anywhere if I come to talk to people, they tend to still notice my American accent, and I think that people often think that I've just arrived, like which part of North America are you from? And it's is an interesting thing because I'm actually an Australian citizen. And I love talking to people with accents and asking them where they're from, but the longer I'm here, the more people ask me that, it's a bit of a funny situation with the language. But it isn't a challenge, it's just a funny thing. Because people think that I'm like this Yankee Doodle dandy, I just arrived from America yesterday, how y'all doing? And that's not the situation at all.
You've been here for 10 years.
I have been here for 10 years, but I think it's just the biggest challenge. Like I feel like Australians have been incredibly welcoming and supportive. I've never experienced anybody like people have been very kind to me. I think the hardest thing is just how long it takes to get home, which I'm sure I understand as well.
Yeah, it takes a bit longer.
Yeah, to Kenya.
To Kenya.
Yeah.
So, who decided for you to leave your country? Was it your decision or your parents or?
No, it was definitely I think I studied when I was 20 years old. I studied abroad in Northern Ireland. Yeah. And I had traveled a bit with my family when I was younger overseas, and I just felt like it opened my world and it made me think about the world in a very different way. Yeah. And after doing that and coming back to the United States, and also just seeing in the UK how progressive they are, how they have less gun violence, they have better health care, seeing how they do these things, but also being influenced by the European culture in the UK and everything, I just realized that it's funny now that I have been in Australia for so long, I actually quite miss the culture of America and the different things about it. But at the time, I just wanted to experience something different. And also my college roommate wanted to go to Australia as well. Okay. So she wanted to go to study reptiles. I just wanted accents. You know what I mean? So I went over there before her. She actually got a proper academic job, and I was like, I'm just going to do this working holiday visa and see what happens.
To make the ends meet.
Yeah. And a lot of things happened in between. Like I had a partner, and then he and I split up, and then I got a new partner, and there was a lot of other stuff that happened in between, which I didn't talk about earlier. But I think it was just a real, and I still have it, a real itchy feet. The grass is greener kind of thing, and just a desire to experience other things.
Have you gone back to America since you came to?
I worked in a tour guide in Kentucky. I was a boat driver inside a cave.
Oh, okay.
So after that first time in Australia, in Melbourne, I had my flight booked back, and I just had a working holiday visa at the time, so I came back and worked another summer in Kentucky. And then I had a partner at the time, and he and I went back to Australia briefly, and then we traveled for a while, and then so I had several more summers, at least 2 more summers in the United States before I ended up in Newcastle, and then I came to Newcastle at the end of 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about food now.
Okay. Oh boy! All right.
Do you find your food here from the US?
No.
I know there's KFC and McDonald's.
No. It makes me so sad that that's what people think American food is. I have been, up until recently, pretty disappointed with Mexican food in Australia. Mexican-American food. Like, America does Mexican food like it's its own thing. Like Tex-Mex is its own culture, and I love it about America. You go to America, you can have chips and salsa unlimited at a Mexican restaurant. They've got lots of spices, lots of hot sauce. I love Antojitos, which is actually run by an American here in Newcastle. I think it's probably the closest to Mexican American you're going to get, but every time I go home, the first thing I want to do is have Mexican food, which is funny. I don't want KFC. I don't want McDonald's. I do miss there's a lot of, especially in the South, there's country home cooking with biscuits and apple pie and drip-a-later coffee. I actually miss the coffee, filtered coffee that the waiter brings to you and just tops you up over and over again.
I thought Australia was the best coffee in the world.
I disagree. I love my long blacks. I drink them all the time, but that's the closest I can get to filtered coffee. And the filtered coffee is not just about the taste, it's about the culture of paying for one coffee and having it, someone watch it, in the hospitality in America, because they're working for tips, it's just out of control. So they will watch your cup and fill it up before you're done. And it's
several times.
And it's just a hot beverage in your hand constantly, and it's just, I don't even know how to completely describe it, but it's just a different feeling. I think I miss that a lot, just the bottomless cups of coffee.
So the food we eat here, the Mexican food, which they say it's Mexican, it's not really authentic.
I I don't think so, but I'm sure that there's someone in Mexico that's like, yeah, but the Mexican food in America isn't authentic either. But there's just this American-Mexican style, partially due to the Mexican influence in America, that has just become so amazing. And like burritos and tacos, and like you can get that here, but I mean, there's not as many black beans, there's not as many toppings, there's not as much queso, there's not as much cheese, there's not as much spice. I just feel like, and it's also really expensive. I feel like when you try to get Mexican, with the exception of like antojitos. I love antojitos. I don't want to hate on antojitos because I do love antojitos, but I think that's a good example of something that you just can't quite, that hasn't quite been imitated in the same way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you miss your family?
Oh, for sure. Especially this year. Especially this year. Yeah. Definitely.
Because of the COVID. And,
and the fact that I can't go home.
Yeah.
That my grand passed away like a month ago. And any other time that would have happened, I would have been home. Like I would have booked a flight. Like that. So that's been extra hard for sure.
Okay. Do they miss you?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah. Some days more than others, I'm sure. We talk a lot. We talk. I'm going to call my mom tonight, especially since my grandpa's. I've been talking to my mom more, and especially because of COVID and because my brother's in South America. When this all happened, we just started talking together. We started a Facebook chat group. Oh, we had that before, but we've been talking in it more and more. And my brother, I talk to him a lot. I check in. I have a few other family members that I either like I watch them on Facebook or I check in with them, but we do keep in pretty close. We try to talk at least. My mom and dad especially, we try to talk at least once a week. More so lately. So that's been nice.
What do you miss a lot about America?
I think I really. I hope I can say this without offending anybody, but like. Particularly in the South where I lived, I definitely felt like there was an openness. I feel like you wave at people. I feel like it's really normal to. It's sometimes exhausting because everybody talks and talks and talks. But I love it that you can just have a casual conversation with whoever's standing next to you in line. I just feel like that happens more. I feel like you go to a bank teller, you're talking to your waitress, you're talking to. Just someone that walks past you on the street, there's just a feeling that, and I love that. I feel like it's just much less common here to talk to someone on the train, to talk to anyone, and if you speak to someone, they might find it a bit strange. But in the South, and also actually I think in like even in big cities, I just feel, and maybe that's my bias, maybe I'm projecting, but I feel that I can speak easily. You can have casual conversations with people, and I love that about the U.S. I think it's such a special thing. And every time I'm back, I notice that I find myself talking to people more.
I thought it was easy that way here too.
Really? Oh, really?
Street, especially the pub,
in Australia.
Conversation and
interesting.
Somebody will respond. Let's talk a little bit about politics.
Oh boy. Okay.
Are you glad that the election is over?
I am.
And we have a new president.
Yes, but as I told to someone else who asked me about this, I am not going to feel relaxed until 2020 when the new president takes over. I feel like the old Trump is contesting the election, and so I was very happy to see that Biden won, but now we're reading about how he's doubting it and seeing his fans questioning the numbers, and so I'm nervous. I am nervous. It has been a strange year.
Is there corruption in the U.S.? In politics.
In politics, I mean, there's no way to know for sure. That's a very intense question.
It's a fast one, it's a modern world. Everybody should be trusted and trustworthy.
Well, I think that's a really. I think that lately everyone has been trusting the government less and less, and that's on the left and on the right. I think people have been trusting the media less and less, and they have been trusting the government less and less, and that is one of the reasons I have been worried about the U.S. a lot. So,
I would assume that who is in power, like Trump, would be the one who should be corrupt more. to win the election.
Yeah.
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 So he did not. So I don't know. This I would say this election is not corrupt at all. It's not rigged.
Well, you know, it's interesting because in the 2016 election, a lot of Democrats were upset because they felt as though Russia interfered with the election. That was the thing. They didn't think that people were casting fake ballots or dead ballots or anything like that. It was that Russia was interfering. That was what the left believed about the 2016 election. And now in 2020, the right is saying, oh, they're fake ballots, or there's someone's messed with the system because there's so many mail-ins. And you know, I am aware of people's concerns. I would have to, I think, take a pretty deep dive to make the call for sure. But I know that a lot of people were concerned in 2016, and now it sounds like the other side is going to be really concerned in 2020. And I, to a degree, have to trust that there is some faith in the democratic system, because there's nothing I can do about it.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Something will happen. And Trump will go home. 20th of January. Something will happen.
We can reboot, reset, and we can look at why people. And I do want to get out. I think I'm in a bit of an echo chamber, and I want to get out of that because I know that a lot of people feel very differently to me, and I don't know why. And I want to help change people's minds, and I don't want to feel like it's us and them. I just feel like America is very, very divided, and I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good.
Leaving politics alone, if someone is traveling from Australia to America, where can they go?
Where should
past
they go?
Past the COVID, past the election thing.
If none of that was going on.
That's the tour.
I'm so glad you asked, Uncle Johnny, because everyone in Australia goes to New York, and they go to LA, and they go to San Francisco, and they go to Chicago, and they go to Portland and Seattle. Go to the south of the United States. I would tell everyone to go to the south of the United States because it gets overlooked, it gets dismissed as being backwards, as racist, as ignorant, and there is history that tells you that, and I know that there is that all over the United States, but there are good people, there are interesting people, there's amazing food, there's beautiful nature. You do have to rent a car. You can't. I think that's a lot of the reason people don't go to the south, because they can't get around like the same way you can in New York City. Although Atlanta does has the MARTA, which you can travel. But I would say take a road trip. Go to Austin, Texas, and drive through Louisiana, Mississippi. Head down to Georgia. I'm not sure if I'm doing the states in the right order, but that's my bad geography. But there's so many beautiful places. Check out Asheville, North Carolina. Check out Charleston, South Carolina. Check out Atlanta, Georgia. Check out Savannah, Georgia. Check out Nashville, Tennessee. Check out Bowling Green, Kentucky, where my family is. That's like the last kind of southern state. But and I don't know much about Arkansas. I don't know much about Alabama. I don't know much about Mississippi. But there's just interesting people that get with interesting accents and interesting stories. And I think that they don't get they get a bad reputation in American media and in Hollywood. And it's not all like that. And there's some really kind and wonderful people there.
So there's a lot of places someone can go and visit.
Oh, absolutely. And have great food and hear great music, so much good music, all different kinds of music as well. And also like just so much like and actually this is all of the United States. The nature in the United States is so different, so diverse. We did Utah and Nevada and California, and the landscape changes so much, and that's epic. But then you have like the Appalachian Mountains in the south, and you have the oceans, you have the swamps, and I don't know. I think you know, for all its flaws, and it has many, and I haven't talked about it much, but trust me, I know that there's a lot of really beautiful things as well.
Yeah, now let's talk about somebody who's coming from America to Australia. Have you traveled a lot in Australia? And where can you come and go to these places?
Yeah, for sure. Where would I tell people to come to?
Because you travel a lot here in Australia.
I have. I think I love Newcastle, of course. Obviously, it's beautiful. The beaches are great. Newcastle is where everyone come visit me in Newcastle. But in terms of cities, I think Melbourne is a very interesting city. It feels very different than any other city in Australia I've visited. I think Melbourne's incredible. I actually, a few years ago, I went to Uluru in the Northern Territory, and that was incredible. It's a very famous rock in the middle of nowhere, and it has a lot of indigenous history.
Tradition.
Did
you touch it?
I didn't touch it. I didn't climb it.
You are not allowed to touch it.
No. But you can walk around it. And it was like, you know, as an American, you think about what Australia is. And when we got there, I felt like it was what I imagined, like the red earth everywhere, and just like long distances and outback. It was just, it was just really, really different to the kind of, I guess, the more coastal side of things where I am now. I've lived in Newcastle, and I've lived in Melbourne, and they're all like heavily populated areas, and it felt very, very different there. So I think that's interesting.
Now I'll take you back to the beginning, where we started. When you came to Australia, was it what you were expecting to find out?
No, well, I don't think so. No, I think I didn't know what to expect, but when I arrived in Melbourne, it felt very European. I felt like, I don't know if I thought there would be kangaroos in the street or what, you know what I mean? But
when you land at the airport, you see a lot of kangaroos.
But I learned so much. I didn't know what to expect. And I think that's the important thing when you travel. No matter what you read, you can't know exactly what to expect. But it was interesting because one of the first friends I made in Melbourne was actually from Colombia. So and I'm still friends with Andres and Adriana to this day, and they're who I see when I go back. And I mean, you know, you wouldn't and there's actually a big Colombian community. I went salsa dancing in Melbourne, there's a whole, and that was just so interesting because you would maybe not expect to find a lot of Latino culture in the city, but it was there, and it was great because that I did miss that about the United States a little bit, because there's a lot of Latino influence in the United States as well. I didn't know what to expect, but I had but I didn't have a bad experience. You know, it was just a not knowing what to expect. And just kind of taking, I think I wished I had saved more money. It's expensive. It was more expensive than I would have imagined, because at that time the US dollar and the Aussie dollar were on the same. So I did not have much money at all. So I think that was something that I was not prepared to deal with.
So when you go back to the US, do people there think that your accent has changed?
Yeah, people think I'm Australian. Which is crazy because the Australians still tell me I sound very much American. But Americans, I think it's changed, and I don't like that actually. I quite like that I had I think I had a bit of a southern accent, and now I don't feel like I have it as much. And it's a part of who I am. Do you feel the same with your accent? Do you think
here, when I go back to Kenya, people say my accent has really changed.
Really?
But I don't think if...
But you sound, I don't think you sound Australian to me.
No. I just sound myself. Somebody told me, don't change your accent. It's who you are. If you try to pretend that you look totally different, so I just try to maintain that accent. This is John Obell channel, and we are talking to Alex, who have come all the way from the USA. And